mean, this does signal, doesn't it, a tougher approach from Border Force. What's your reaction?
It is definitely a tough approach now. The way that it works is EU citizens coming to the UK to work following Brexit must now obtain work visas. And those resident in the UK before Brexit went into effect needed to apply to the EU settlement scheme to obtain either pre-settled or settled status to continue being able to live and work in the UK. Now, a lot of EU citizens did not realise that if they obtained pre-settled status, that they then had to reapply for settled status after living in the UK for 5 years. So that's one issue. The other issue is that people might be so desperate that they have no choice but to work. And so the immigration rules should potentially be expanded to make it easier for people to obtain work permissions. But there is a problem with the mechanism of the EU settlement scheme, which the High Court actually found breaches the withdrawal agreement. So and also on the flip side, it is very costly as well for employers to sponsor workers for UK visas. And then, of course, there are some people and businesses attempting to circumvent the immigration rules, which clearly is an issue from an immigration standpoint.
I mean, you can understand why some people are going to be very upset by this, right? However, but isn't it fair to say that these? I mean, if people aren't aware of the legal situation at the moment, that's no excuse, is it? I mean, there's been actually a substantial grace period for people to sort this out before the government's now starting to move in and enforce the law.
Yes, there was quite a generous grace period. I have actually spoken to people that didn't even realise, they didn't even know. So that is a huge problem. And so there are people here that didn't even know. And then, of course, there are people here that do know exactly what they're doing and they're just trying to circumvent the rules. All UK employers do have the responsibility of preventing illegal working. And UK employers are required to conduct regular right-to-work checks to ensure that the individual they are employing has the right to work. So employers in breach of the rules may face both civil and criminal penalties for doing so. Employers could face substantial fines in the thousands and also prosecution of up to imprisonment of up to 5 years, actually. So in addition, the employers could face businesses being forced to cease trading and disqualification of the company directors. So an employer who fails to do the correct checks may also be in breach, in addition to an employer who knowingly employed illegal workers.
How does it work then? Because, I mean, we just heard there from Mark White, this is a huge issue to tackle. It's 1 million people living here illegally from the EU. Does it work in the sense that it comes from a tip-off, or is it through employer checks? Or is this more just immigration raids? I mean, it just seems like such a huge issue to tackle. I don't know how you even go about starting that.
It can result as of a tip-off. You can submit a form online to inform the Home Office. It can also result due to the right to work check. So I've actually come across some employers who didn't even realise they were employing illegal workers. They had just assumed that their employee was legal in this country. They assumed their employee applied to the EU settlement scheme, and they actually hadn't. They had put it off, and the employer was employing someone unlawfully. So that is an issue on both the part of the employer and the employee, because the employer has a requirement to check that the employee that they are hiring actually is legal to work in this country.